Bruno Mars just told everyone what he's been keeping from them for years. In a shocking interview in 2025, he told the truth about why he owed MGM $50 million in gambling debt. It wasn't just bad luck. He's been hiding a terrible truth since he was a child. It's the same truth that caused his 14-year relationship with Jessica Cabin to end. Her friends say she learned something terrible. Bruno now talks about retiring and giving away all of his money. We thought we knew everything about the superstar's perfect life until he told us. Bruno Mars was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, on October 8, 1985, as Peter Gene Hernandez. His childhood wasn't like the ones in glossy mags. The neighborhood where he grew up had 7 people living in a small house that never felt big enough. Bernadette San Pedro Bayo, his mother, left the Philippines in 1968 to become a hula dancer. Peter Hernandez, his father, was from Brooklyn and played the drums. He looked for gigs wherever he could. Music wasn't just background noise, it was a way to stay alive. Rock, roll, doo-wop, and Elvis songs filled the house. When Bruno was only 3 years old, his uncle dressed up as Elvis and gave him a microphone. When he first went on stage, he was still in nappies and wearing an Elvis costume that was too big for him. People in the crowd not only laughed, but also clapped. He didn't know what stage fear was. He didn't know how to hesitate. He played 5 nights a week with his family's band, the Love Notes, by the time he was 4 years old. The Outrigger Waikiki Hotel was one of the places they played for tourists. He wasn't a shy kid who was having trouble with the lines. While singing "Can't Help Falling in Love," he stood there like he owned the room. He was just tall enough to reach the mic. He was called Little Elvis. The tourists were shocked. People in the area stared. At the same time, his dad was the manager, the driver, the publicist, and the boss. Bruno did more than sing. He learned how to play the drums and the piano. Played the ukulele and guitar before most kids learned their math facts. He wasn't just having fun. He was getting paid to play. The money wasn't enough, even though there were shows almost every night. The family got help from aid. Everything broke when Bruno was 6. His parents split up. There was more than just feeling in that breakup. Bruno and his brother Eric stayed with their dad, while the rest of the kids went with their mom. Bruno and his dad sometimes had nowhere to go because they didn't have a regular income. In the back of a car, in buildings that no one else wanted to stay in, and even in an empty bird park called Paradise Park, they slept. There were no lights, bathrooms, or comforts in that place. There was only straw on the floor and total darkness at night. They lived there for 2 years. Bruno said that they didn't always know what they were going to eat the next day, but he always knew one thing. He would play music all day. Bruno had already done more than 200 shows a year by the time he was 10. Most adults would get tired at that speed, but he kept going. He went to school at the Royal Hawaiian Theatre, and the stage lights were his playroom. The act helped pay the bills, but it took away my youth. The show fell apart when his parents split up in 1997. What little security they still had went away too. Bruno and his dad ended up living in a van again, and they parked it wherever they could find room. Rats were in the van. It had a smell of rust and sadness. The people who could took showers did so. It was up to strangers. Bruno, who is now 12 years old, began singing on the streets of Waikiki. To stay alive, he faked being Elvis and Michael Jackson. He could get $50 to $100 in tips on a good day. That person who had nothing got a lot of money, but it made them look bad. Some people made fun of him. Others walked right by him as if he wasn't there. He sang, danced, and smiled anyway. He had no choice. He could no longer get away from that concrete stage. It wasn't for fame. It was to eat. It was to stay inside and sleep. To feel like a person. When he was 14, he did something that shocked his family. His sister and he went to Los Angeles. He stopped going to school. Even though everyone told him he was crazy, he thought music would save him. LA was harsh, cold, and merciless. He played everywhere he could. Open mics, clubs, and places with no one else in them. He slept on couches and brought pizzas to people. He didn't always have food, but he never told his mom. He didn't want to hurt her feelings. In the end, his friends said he came to studios in the same old, worn-out clothes and looked like he hadn't eaten. But he never said anything bad. He kept singing, writing, and being there. He got his first big break when he was only 18. He wasn't signed by Uptown Records to sing, but to write songs. After a year, the door slammed shut, but that was the first step. He was dropped by Uptown. People who worked in the music business told him he was too black for pop and not black enough for R&B. He was stuck in the middle and could no longer be seen. He didn't give up, instead, he stepped it up. He wrote for other people. He helped write Right Round for Flo Rida in 2009. 6.8 million copies of the song were sold. It was number one. No one knew his name, though. That check did pay the rent, though. He started the Smeezingtons with Philip Lawrence and Ari Levine that same year. Three hungry guys making demos in small rooms with borrowed gear for less than $1,000. Just the Way You Are was one of those tracks. It wasn't a huge hit, but it sounded real. Bruno had signed with Atlantic Records by 2010. Not only as a writer, but also as the voice, the face, and the act. When Just the Way You Are came out in October 2010, it didn't just make the charts, it blew up. By 2013, 8.9 million digital copies had been sold. In 17 places, it was the number one song. $1 million ads didn't make it happen. People told their friends about it, so it spread. Lots of people played it and thought it was true. His win in 2011 was for Best Male Pop Singing Performance. He did the moonwalk to honor Michael Jackson. Then it took place. While the show was going on, his trousers tore. They would have all freaked. Bruno laughed. He kept dancing. That moment told you more about him than any speech he could ever give. Bruno Mars went into a bathroom in Las Vegas in September 2010 with a secret in his pocket. The person working at the hotel saw him acting odd. The police showed up. Bruno did not say anything, but instead quietly gave over a small bag containing 2.6 grams of cocaine. Just the Way You Are, his song that was number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, had made him very happy after playing at the club. He was only 24 years old. It was a sharp moment. His real name, Peter Hernandez, showed up in police logs that night. In February 2011, after a few months, he admitted guilt. Going to jail wasn't part of the term. He learned how to deal with drugs, paid $2,000, and was put on probation for 1 year. He also had to do 200 hours of community work. The judge said the charge would go away if he stayed clean for a year. He didn't lose his job because of the arrest, but it did stop the image he was building. It was easy to become famous. It fell faster. After that, things he said had a little more weight behind the smile after that. In October of that same year, he released Grenade. The song almost didn't make the record. 2 days before the due date, the final version was taken. But it went off when it hit. The words were written after a relationship ended and were very painful to read. He sang about dying for someone who wouldn't help him. The song Grenade went straight to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was the number 1 song in 15 countries. By the end of 2011, it had sold over 10.2 million copies around the world. That year, it was the second most popular song, and he was nominated for 3 Grammys. However, Adele won all of them. Still, the song made him the first male artist in 13 years to have both of his first tracks go to number 1. In the US and the UK. Behind the broken heart and clean suit was a man who was slowly rebuilding his image. By 2012, that recovery had hit a rough spot. Bruno made a bet at the MGM Grand Casino while recording tracks for Unorthodox Jukebox. It wasn't a little one. In one night, he lost $50,000. Word gets around quickly. Some people said he lost $50 million. In a 2025 Spotify post, he laughed off that version after many years. Even though he said it was only $50,000, the rumors got the word out. Some people thought that success might be breaking down. He worked hard. He kept a happy face. At that point, though, it was clear that his job wasn't just music anymore. It had to do with pressure, appearance, and keeping track of every choice. A tour called the Moonshine Jungle Tour began in 2013. It had 161 shows and made $156.4 million. There was a lot of energy on stage from Bruno. He was so serious that he broke his ankle in the middle of a show in Berlin in 2014. He kept going. He kept dancing and singing while hiding his wound from the crowd until the show was over. The show had to go on. It did happen. His team will never forget that moment. Bruno did something risky to keep the lights on and the crowd moving. It wasn't about being hurt. It had to do with purpose. After that, the night changed everything. February 2, 2014. The Super Bowl halftime show was amazing. The MetLife Stadium. A 12-minute set by Bruno Mars was seen by 115.3 million people, making it the most watched halftime show up to that point. Even though the Red Hot Chili Peppers joined him, the attention stayed on him. The first thing he did was play a solo on the drums on a kit that had a picture of his late mother, Bernadette Hernandez. It rained while Runaway Baby was going on, but he didn't move. No dropped sounds or missed beats. The Hawaii Kid stood in the middle of everything that night and didn't break. After a few years, something different took place. Bruno met Anderson .Paak in 2017 while they were both recording in Los Angeles. Things got bigger after that one meeting. They didn't just work together. They put together a soundstage from the 1970s. Old tools like Ludwig drums, a Hohner clavinet D6, and old SSL mixing boards were brought in. The rent alone cost more than $2 million. They didn't care. 1 or 2 microphones were used at a time to record live, and tracks were remixed until even the helpers agreed. During those late nights, Silk Sonic was made. When An Evening with Silk Sonic came out in 2021, everyone in the music business stopped to listen. Leave the Door Open, the first song, was in the Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 for 18 weeks and was number 1 3 times. They were up for 7 Grammys in 2022. One of the 4 awards they were nominated for was Album of the Year. The other 3 were Record of the Year and Song of the Year. Then someone did something that caught everyone off guard. Bruno Mars said he would not be submitting for any more Grammys. He said it was time for other people to shine. Some people said it was humble. Some people called it a power play. No matter what it was, it gave him back power. But in January 2025, music couldn't fix what was wrong. Bruno Mars and Jessica Caban broke up after being together for 14 years. They'd always kept it quiet. In 2011, they met. While everyone else tried to guess, they didn't say anything about their love. Then it was over. People began to read between the lines. After Last Night wasn't just a song, it was a letter to say goodbye. Friends said that stress was the cause of the breakup. Private, work-related, and sensitive. The press already knew what Jessica was up to because of her quiet posts on social media. Bruno's work changed after the breakup, not just his life. His voice got rough. It lost its sharp edges. The numbers didn't slow down even when people were sad. 1.5 million copies of An Evening with Silk Sonic were sold. Bruno added 24 more shows to his Las Vegas contract at Park MGM in 2025. A longer run brought in $20 million. He made fun of the money that went into making the show on stage. Yet, behind the scenes, there was a plan. Keep the lights on, keep the crowd locked in, and control the story while the world outside changed. Fans from all over the world came to see the show. For a single singer to live in Las Vegas, it set a new record. It was Bruno Mars who made Silk Sonic a culture icon by mixing nostalgia and heartbreak, rhythm and risk. From his first show at Park MGM in December 2016, Bruno Mars brought something new to Las Vegas that had never been seen before. His name alone brought in so many people that it broke box office expectations. At the end of 2018, he had played 115 sold-out shows and made more than $102 million. It wasn't just that much money. It was almost twice as much as most of the big Vegas acts had made before. Every night there was a huge price tag because of the $50,000 worth of fireworks that went off above a stage that was built to be a show. Fans kept coming, though. By 2024, 410,000 tickets had been sold, bringing in a total of $124.5 million. But everything changed on December 31, 2024. It made $3,278 million in one night, with 5,114 fans packed inside. This made it the most successful single-theater show in the history of Las Vegas residency. Billboard didn't think twice. People in 2022 said it was the best R&B show in the world. The residency wasn't just big, it showed how far a single artist could go. It didn't end, even when people thought it would. He added 25 more dates for 2023. The add-on did more than just add extra nights, it also brought back Silk Sonic. It wasn't long after Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak won a bunch of Grammys together in 2022 that they went back on stage together. Fans were shocked when they thought the act was over. 5 more shows were added over the New Year's Eve weekend in December 2023. Each one was bigger than the last. Someone did something unexpected during one of those sets. Mars took the stage and sang Die with a Smile, a song that no one had heard before. It hadn't come out yet. The internet went crazy over that one live show. People talked about it over and over, and rumors spread like wildfire. That song wasn't just a sneak peek. It was a message. A sign that his record 2025 was on the way. The noise didn't stop. It got worse. In August 2022, Silk Sonic's earlier shows had sold out quickly, so people were still eager to see them. That's why the extra dates made sense. Every show was an answer to a real event. Fans who didn't want to leave. That's when the room fell silent. It took place during a 2024 show. He stopped in the middle of the set. There were no lights or tricks, just him on stage. What he said about himself he told the crowd. He talked about being poor as a child in Hawaii. He talked about what it was like to sleep on the ground. No one was ready for it. Then he wrote, "When I was your man," for anyone who was having a hard time. He got choked up. The crowd did too. The speech wasn't written down. It had a rough feel. It was shot. In just a few days, that video got 10 million views. He was no longer just acting. He told them about a part of his life. The kind of pain that most people try to hide. But he said it, and people paid attention. There were lots of news stories. Fans told their own stories on the web. Things changed that night into something other than music. The stage itself felt like it was built to fit with the rest of the show. An LED floor made just for him with more than 1,000 lights wasn't there just for looks. He used a wearable tech setup to connect the lights to his heartbeat. It cost $5 million to make that tech. The lights in the crowd flashed like lightning every time his heart beat. The music made you feel something. But even that had some problems. It broke down during one show in 2022. The lights flashed out of time, which messed up the moment. He didn't freak out. Instead, he smiled and said the stage was just nervous. People laughed, and the show went on. The link got stronger because of that small mistake. His team fixed the bugs and made the system better. Fans remember how charming he was when he dealt with it, though. Then there was a surprise that no one saw coming. He added 20 more shows for 2026 in November 2025. People cheered, then stopped moving. There was something that felt like a goodbye in the news, so he talked about personal things that came to light. He said that the next record he makes might be the last one. The words hurt a lot, but no one knew if he meant them. In the video for the reveal, he was seen leaving the stage. Everyone remembered one line. "This is what I'll leave you with." That was it. No reason given. That's it. All of the tickets for those Dolby Live events in 2026 were gone in hours. No one wanted to miss what might have been the last act. It could have been a joke about retiring. It could have been real. No one knew. But every ticket sold was weighed down by what happened that day. Sung every word. Every light on that stage that flashed. Bruno Mars started singing when he was only 4 years old. He had already done more than 1,000 shows by the time he was 10. He didn't have any toys or shows when he was young. He grew up with lights on. While his friends went to school dances, Bruno slept in the trunks of a car or on a Hawaii rooftop. Everything fell apart when his parents split up. His dad lost his business. His mother stopped getting attention. Bruno, his brother, and his dad would sleep wherever they could find a place, even in Paradise Park, a bird zoo that was closed. It was weird, cold, and lonely. In the silence, though, he began to hear music more clearly than ever. It was something he never liked to talk about. He told only a few people about it. People picked on him because he smelt like rusty iron and old feathers, which is what people did when they lived in places that weren't meant for people. Even so, he never stopped acting, not even during those times. There are 2 shows every night, 5 nights a week. He said it was the only time he didn't feel like no one could see him. He put down his first bet in a casino when he was 19 years old. His hands were shaky. Someone else saw and laughed. Bruno spent $100 that he didn't have to spend. But that was only the beginning. In 2019, he admitted that he had lost $1 million in one night. Then, in 2024, it was said that he owed more than $50 million to MGM Resorts. Some people even said that they lost $17 million in one game. While on stage, he made fun of it and laughed about it, but behind the scenes, he was working harder and longer. He said that the energy in Uptown Funk came from stress. He worked like he had nothing to lose when he felt like he had lost everything. Fans were shocked in 2025 when his partner of 14 years, Jessica Cabin, deleted the memories they had shared on social media. Not a single picture, tag, or thing. She put a quiet comment under a new post that said, "Beating a drum from afar." It was the end of an age. They built a house in Los Angeles together that cost $7.5 million. Now, there was only distance left. Some thought it might have been the trip. Some said it was cheating. But the truth was hidden in the lines of her TikTok reposts that hinted at wants for marriage that were never met. Bruno didn't say much. He worked hard all the time. But it was the first time that his public image started to break down a bit. Bruno did something strange at the 2025 Grammys. He openly praised Blackpink's Rose, whose song APT was nominated for 3 major awards, including Best New Artist. She was the first female K-pop singer to be nominated for one of the Big 4 awards. Bruno posted "AYE thank you," which started a trend with "Thanks Bruno." He then lightly revealed that he co-wrote an unreleased Blackpink song and hinted at a 2026 collaboration. That wasn't the only thing it was. It was a fresh start and a look at what might happen next for him. He also named a record for 2026. One was about healing and getting better. He said he wanted something different after having to admit, lose, and break up. He talked about taking it easy and retiring in part. He also wanted to open a music school in Hawaii for kids who couldn't afford lessons or instruments. Free mentoring, run by a family. People had once let him sleep under a zoo roof, and he wanted to repay them. He had been saved by music before. He wanted it to save other people now. People who liked him knew about 24K Magic. The record from 2016 wasn't just a hit, it was a tsunami. 5 million copies have been sold around the world. The Album and Record of the Year awards were given 7 times in 2018. 5 of the songs from it were hit singles. That's What I Like and Finesse became hits all over the world. The album sold 1.6 million equivalent units, making it the 4th best-selling record in the US in 2017. People thought of Michael Jackson when they saw him in those velvet clothes, gold chains, and smooth moves. He didn't try to avoid the difference. He danced right into it. But in 2025, he finally said something that fans didn't think he would. As he worked on Treasure, he privately thought about Prince's guitar solos, breaks, and licks. He made them to sound like Prince's signature sound. They had spent years telling him not to be affected. He didn't want to look like a tribute act, but the notes always had the truth in them. And then there was skill. Behind the scenes, the 2018 version with Cardi B wasn't going well. Bruno turned down the idea at first. They fought. The creative directions were not the same. But everything came together in one sitting. His smooth voice matched her raw energy. The movie was a tribute to color that lives on. It got to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. There are more than 2 billion. He later said that agreement was what made it possible. In 2020, he gave away $1 million from the money he made from his show to help MGM workers during the pandemic. Protests and trouble were also going on at the time. He said that being from Puerto Rico changed the way he saw the world. He came to help in any way he could. At that point, people began to see him not only as a showman but also as someone who was standing up quietly. He had a huge hit with "That's What I Like" on TikTok in 2025. There are over 500 million movies, dances, edits, and challenges that users have made. The song was played all over. But it wasn't just the numbers that made it work. It was in the way that his music mixed old school sounds with new school beats that it reached a new generation. In 2015, Eric, his brother, got sick. Bruno didn't say anything to the press. Every night, he just went to the hospital. That's where the soft song, "Count on Me," was written. Some people thought it was just about friendship. It wasn't, though. You promised not to leave while you watched someone you love fight for their life. When the song came out in 2010, it meant something different. It was known that he was arrested for cocaine in 2010. It was quiet at the rehab in 2011. Jessica Cabin stayed with him and helped him. He got better. In 2025, though, he said he was still having trouble. There were relapses. It wasn't easy to stay sober. The breakup with Jessica made things worse. But he said that therapy helps and that getting help saved him. He was worth $175 million by 2025. Music sales, residency shows in Las Vegas, and world trips. But he gave 10% of his money to projects for Hawaiian youth. Selva Ray put some of the money he made from his rum brand into music instruction back home. It's not a PR move. A promise to kids who were like him as a child. Feeling hungry, lost, and maybe with a song in their heart. Then the bond offer came. $20 million to sing the theme. Not because he didn't want it, but because the producers wanted to be in charge. He wouldn't give it up, not even for $20 million. It wasn't just about money. It had to do with who owned what he made. He turned around and left. Everyone was shocked. He said something in an interview in 2025 that people still talked about years after the interview was over. "I sang to forget that I was poor. I now act to remember who I am." That line got to the heart of all the news. It was about a boy who used music to get away and now puts it on to get back. There's just one man hanging on to his past so it doesn't get lost in the cheers behind all the fame, glitter, and hits.